Sweet. Welcome to our Diamond Zoom call today with special guest Jeremie Brecheisen. And Jeremie, I heard Laura pronounce your name the other day, and I'm like, have I been slaughtering your name this whole time?
You said it right.
That's right? Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's easy to slaughter my name. Sometimes I'll joke with people and say it's pronounced Smith. They're like, wait, what?
We are so grateful to have him here with us. And this is something that we've been looking forward to for a long time. We love what happened at convention, the energy, the magic that Jeremie brought by bringing some of those initial insights into strengths and how thinking based on strengths can change everything. You know, this morning we got to get a special call from our oldest son. That's why my eyes look like this, because he was on in flight, and we got to talk to him on a layover, and it was so sweet to hear his progress. And I think, wow, you know, our kids get to grow up with a different mentality than we did. I also had an energy worker talking on the phone. You know, we just got off of that call, and what am I working on again? My thinking that I'm doing something wrong and how it was pre-programmed, you know, and it's just been there from when I was a kid, and how beautiful to shift that thinking to more of what is going right and what are we doing right and what are our strengths and what do we have to offer to the world by knowing those strengths. So I know that taking the StrengthsFinder 2.0 test has shifted my awareness of myself and my own gifts, and has done the same for Andy. And then bringing that in to have more understanding as a couple has been brilliant and amazing for us. Opened up new understanding and less I would say just the craziness when we don't understand each other. We get less of that and more of the understanding of each other and each other's needs. And then it's been so fun to watch that trickle down into, we had a gathering with our main line, and we were able to take our StrengthsFinders results and see those mapped out and see how we could each use our strengths in building and in doTERRA to just take our influence to a whole new level, take the impact that we're making in the world to a whole new level. So I am super excited to expose many of you to this. I know we're going to have some magic at leadership that's going to bring more insight, but we just felt like it was time right now to be able to look at some ways that we as leaders, you as diamonds and above, that, you know, we have a serious stewardship. There's some realities that we all feel, that we're all holding, and with that stewardship comes increased opportunities to grow. And we wanted to give you this opportunity and have strengths really come into you and who you are, and then understand how to take that to your team and your culture. So without any further ado, I want to introduce you to a StrengthsFinder's guru. I love what Jeremie has done. He is rocking Diamond Club right now, gold in doTERRA, and a partner at Gallup, and just about to move to London, the Gallup's London office here in a month or so. So we've been blessed by your work, Jeremie, and just so happy to have you with us here today.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks. That's a good intro. I think every day should start off by getting introduced. Having somebody introduce you so you can just walk out like, wait, before I exit the bedroom, somebody needs to announce me. That felt good. So, all right. Well, thank you so much. And I think we have until the top of the hour. So I want to make sure I make the best use of our time. And I'm going to level set just a little bit, just in case some people don't actually Maybe you didn't see my convention speech. Maybe you've never taken the assessment. Maybe you don't know what this is. So I'm just going to level set for just a little bit on that. And then I'm going to go further into that. First of all, I looked at some of the side note chats that have been said. And Heather, I'm sorry if I mistreated you in the elevator and said that I didn't want to ride with you again. It sounds like you knew that was a joke. All right, good. So I want you to realize that most people don't know how to focus on strengths. They think they know, but they don't. And when I start talking about what it really means, I think people realize, oh yeah, you're right. And so what I want to do is just kind of speak to some of those things. And I'm going to share my screen here and just show you guys some slides. Some of them may be familiar. And so I just want to anchor you to what's going on in all of Gallup's data. And if you guys can't see this, just unmute and say, dude, I can't see or I can't hear. So first of all, we know, Gallup knows things about the entire planet. I mean, we have the first world poll that ever existed that represents 98% of the world's population. We have people who literally go and do face-to-face interviews in the rice paddies of China or in the jungles of Indonesia. And we make sure that we do cognitive testing. This is robust, legit surveying of the entire planet. And so if you were to ask us what the most important discovery we've ever had was, we'd know exactly what to tell you. And it's that the will of the world has changed. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, what we mean, we go all the way back to the beginning of our company when George Gallup said, if democracy is about the will of the people, then someone should find out what that will is. Kind of makes sense, right? And so he created a set of questions that identified what he called the Great American Dream and eventually became the Great Global Dream. And the answers were things like owning my own property, having a family, worshiping the God I want to worship, peace and freedom. And it was different in different places around the world. But in the 1990s and 2000s, there was this shift that took place. The will of the world literally changed. And the number one thing that people said they wanted was a good job. Now, think about that. Think about how that changes things. Imagine a woman in the 1950s in America saying family, and now imagine a woman today saying a good job. Does that change her life decisions? Does that change how many kids, or if she has kids, or when she gets married, or if she gets married? What we were interested in was how it changed what people expected of work. And we found 6 big shifts that represent the billions of data points that we've gathered since the 1930s. And these are new expectations for leaders. And some of the things that we found were, first of all, people are less interested in a paycheck and they're more interested in a purpose. They still want the paycheck. We all still want to get paid, right? But if it comes without a purpose, if it comes without a cause or a mission, and I'm not talking about a mission statement of an organization that we deliver our products in a really inspiring way. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about delivering a mission that's bigger than doTERRA, that's bigger than Nike, that's bigger than Wells Fargo. And you feel like you're part of something special. The next thing is people are less interested in satisfaction benefits and more interested in development. In the Bay Area, we have Google, and they give you free lunches and ping pong tables, and you walk on Google's campus, they've got like pop-up workout stations where they've got workout machines outside that people can come and get into, and they're doing rope training outside, and they've got lunches all over the place. But nobody joined Google because they heard there was free food. They joined because they thought, wow, this is going to be a great company, and it's going to develop me, and I'm going to grow. People will actually buy their own lunch if they feel they can get developed. As I go through these 6 things, think about how doTERRA uniquely offers these, and how your story, when you invite someone to join you in this business or in any way, then these are the things that you can speak to that the whole world is expecting and wanting, and that not very many people are actually getting. For example, with purpose, we found in our data set that only about 20% of people are thriving in a purpose. Most people are lacking in purpose. and they're looking for something. I asked one of my trainings for my team, I said, what is the number one reason you joined doTERRA? And they said, I was looking for a mission or cause that I could be a part of. So I think this is something that matters quite a bit. The third shift that we see here is people are less interested in having a command and control boss and more interested in having a coach. That doesn't mean you want some sort of soft, fuzzy hug. It just means that you don't want someone who's telling you what to do. You want someone who's working with you to accomplish what you want to do. And coaches, you think of the best coaches in the world, they can get in your face, right? They can grab you by the face mask and tell you some truths you need to hear. But it's really about us now, and it's not about them. And the reason we expect this one, we dug into it more. I mean, we were raised by a generation who said, I have a crap boss, don't deal with this. And they wrote songs about taking this job and shoving it, and movies about Dolly Parton doing terrible things to her boss, right? Like, we grew up with like hating bosses. In fact, our surveys show that the number one person you don't want to spend time with is your boss. And so do not be someone's boss. It's not a good thing anyway. But they do need a coach. Everyone needs a coach. There's 7 billion ways to live a life and 7 billion ways to coach them. And everybody needs that. The annual review, or just being reviewed in general, being judged. People are less interested in being judged and rated, and they're more interested in having a conversation about their performance, about what could get better, about how they could change and grow. And they want it to be future-oriented, not past-oriented. They're less interested in you focusing on their weaknesses and more interested in focusing on their strengths. And we're going to spend a lot of time on that. But the whole point here is to show you this is one of the 6 big, massive shifts taking place in the world. It's not just a cute assessment that feels fuzzy. This is a global demand. And people want this, and they're not getting it. Last one here is people are less interested in climbing the corporate ladder and building their career, and they're more interested in building a life, architecting a life, and realizing that we have, there's so many lines that are grayed with technology right now. And companies think it's great if you want to check your email at home, but they don't think it's great if you want to check on your kids at work, right? And so they often don't honor the life of a mother. They don't honor the life of a millennial who's looking for something different. They don't honor the life of very many people. And in fact, they treat you like an employee when we all just want to be treated like a person, a whole person. And so this is what the whole world is demanding. But the world is slowing down in development. We looked at GDP per capita growth. This is like the revenue of the United States and the revenue growth. And it's been slowly declining since 1966. No matter which party was in there, it's been dropping. Our productivity as a country has been declining. We've grown into this weakness-based culture that's just focused on our weaknesses, and it's not been working. The other thing we measure is employee engagement. We know how engaged employees are, and we see that we've been measuring this for 16 years, and it's not been changing. So the expectations of work has changed, but the workplace is stagnant. It's not changing at all, creating this cognitive dissonance for people. And some statistics I don't have on here is 91% of people who changed jobs had to change companies to do it. 51% of people in the United States are looking for a job right now. I think the statistic is let's put it this way. 54% of women who are working, who have children under the age of 18, would prefer to be working outside the home. Most working mothers would rather be home. It's not worth it. It's not that they don't want to work. It's just that the conditions of the workplace don't honor what they need. So what's going on? First of all, leaders need help. They need to know how to transform current conversations. They need simplified tools that make it easy. And they need help. They need to be coached through the change themselves. Sometimes coaches need coaches, right? And so some of the biggest things that we found with strengths is that it solves that productivity problem that we see with the GDP per capita growth happening in the United States. Actually, productivity improves by 8 to 18% when someone knows what their strengths are. That's just, they took the Clifton Strengths Assessment. That's it. And they improved performance that much. That includes sales data, it included performance ratings, it included productivity scores. And then lastly, strengths drives engagement. So we asked people at work, my supervisor ignores me, focuses on my weaknesses, or focuses on my strengths. And then we looked at how engaged they were. Only 2% were engaged at work if their boss ignored them. The worst thing you can do to a human being is ignore them. 45% were engaged when you focused on their weaknesses. So actually just paying attention to someone is magical. You can even be terrible at it and it's engaging. But if you focus on their strengths, it grows dramatically. And I got to move everyone's faces for a second. It grows to 61%. I was like, I think it's 61%. 61% are engaged when you focus on their strengths. So I'm just going to check some of the chats and make sure someone's not saying, hey, okay, everybody is doing okay. All right. All right. This is not the same as the talk from convention, just so you know. All right. Just answering those questions. All right. So having said that, I think that kind of lets you know why this is important and why strengths matters. I want to just, you guys have seen speed reading when we did this together. I want to point this out right here. This is an important part of what we're going to talk about today. I want to talk to you a little bit more about this, but then I'm going to go into this tool. And you may or may not have this tool, but I'm going to talk all about it and teach you how to use it. And my goal is today that you learn how to coach your team. Okay, that's the outcome. I want you to learn how to better coach your team. So this equation is critical, and it's what a strength comprises. So talent is what we measured in you when you took the StrengthsFinder assessment. It's a natural way of thinking, feeling, or behaving. It's raw, potentially. It may not be developed. It may get in your way sometimes. It may help you sometimes. And if you haven't been aware of it, it's probably been the one in charge. As you make an investment in your talent and you spend time practicing or developing your skills or building your knowledge base, then it creates a multiplicative effect that creates strength, the ability to consistently provide near perfect performance. Now, if you guys watched my speech at convention, you'll remember I helped you realize how you do something like this, how you've done it in your life. Remember the handwriting exercise we did, where I had you sign your name as fast as you could, and then I had you do it with your non-dominant hand, and everyone was laughing, and they were like, how do I even hold my pen? And then I had you do it with your dominant hand, and you could even think about other things while you did it. And the quality went up, and the number of times went up. Well, that's because at a very young age, you took a kind of dominant side of your body and you invested in it to the point where now near perfect performance, you can sign your name in a way that a bank can recognize it. So that's one area of your life, and it's a good analogy for how you should be investing in your talents in a way that takes it to strength. Okay? So let me just point out a couple other things here. I think this is important to know that when you focus on your strengths, that you're 3 times as likely to report having an excellent quality of life and 6 times as likely to be engaged in your job. Now, this is important to realize that it's not just about manipulating performance. This is actually your whole life gets better. And the reason it gets better is because your daily experience has changed. You're able to feel like every day is better because you're more energized. And some of the data I showed at convention, again, this is just level setting, just in case someone wasn't there, was this data that I showed, where if people focused on their strengths up to 10 hours in the day, the amount of happiness they felt the previous day went up, the amount of energy they felt went up, the saying they smiled or laughed a lot the previous day went up. And it looks like maybe you should stop at like 7 to 9 hours and it gets worse at 10, but that's not statistically significant, just so you know. And then stress dropped, worry dropped, and even reporting of physical pain dropped. I mean, focusing on strengths works like essential oils almost, right? Think about all these things on the left, happiness, stress, and how many times have you taught a natural solutions class and you said, oh, I've got an oil for happiness. Oh, I've got an oil for energy. Oh, I've got an oil for worry. Well, focusing on your strengths honors the same principles that essential oils honor. That there's something right with your body, that your body can heal itself, but it just needs to be reminded how. It just needs to be used with more intentionality. And so these are some things that I think are important to understand about the strengths movement and why it matters. What we didn't talk about at convention was the actual StrengthsFinder assessment. So its official name is called the Clifton Strengths Assessment right now, sometimes called Clifton StrengthsFinder or StrengthsFinder, all the same assessment. And the way we develop this, so psychologists, when they look at your brain, find that it's the most active at the age of 3. And at the age of 3, you've learned to talk, you've learned to walk, and you've done amazing things, but your mind is so active that it needs to create some efficiencies. And so it starts to go through a process called pruning and starts to find super highways. And by the time you're at the age of 15, most of that pruning has been completed. It's kind of scary to think that who you are at 15 is kind of who you are for the rest of your life. I know, when you think back to being 15. But this is something where that's why we say about age 15, you can take the StrengthsFinder assessment and your results will be pretty much the same for the rest of your life. Now, an important part of the StrengthsFinder assessment to know is that God didn't create StrengthsFinder, Gallup did. Therefore, it's not divine revelation. So will it change if you take it a second time? It will adjust a little bit. And yes, it can change. But for the most part, we find it stays the same. We've done test, retest reliability on it. And it's the most reliable assessment in the world for that. But it's not perfect, and you're not perfect. And so those two imperfections come together, and you can see some shuffling. I recommend that you not just have your top 5 results, especially at the diamond level. I recommend you have your full 34 results. Because an important point of this is that all 34 talent themes that Gallup has identified are in you. It's not, oh, I don't have that, or I do have that. It's either it's dominant or it's not dominant. It gives you energy, or you can do it. It just doesn't give you energy. So it's, instead of thinking of it as what you can or cannot do, it's about what you will or won't do. And so an example of that is the talent theme of woo. I have that in my top 5. It stands for winning others over. And if you put me in a big group of people, I will bounce around and meet everybody in that group. I just can't help it. It's like achieving things. And I'm just like with someone, after about 5 minutes, my leg starts to bounce. I even feel a little guilty, like, am I a normal person? Do I not care about what they're saying? But I just need to bounce around and go talk to 20 people. And when I come back to them, I'm super interested in their story again. And my woo just wants to meet as many people as possible. And at the end of that 2-hour party with all those 50 people that I met, I'm energized. I'm ready for the after party. I love when I'm in China. I'm like, let's do karaoke. Let's go. You know, but imagine if you're a relator. Relators, by the way, if you read that and you read realtor, you were like, what? I'm supposed to sell real estate? No, it's relator. And relators are all about one-to-one relationships. And they love going deep and having deep friendships. So you can imagine a woo as being like an inch deep and a mile wide. And you can imagine a relator being an inch wide and a mile deep. They love to go deep. So at that party, what's most natural for them is to find their friend and spend the whole party with their friend, right? Now, if I told that relator, if I was their boss and I said, you've got to meet everybody here, or you're building a doTERRA business and you want to meet everybody there, and you just know that's the right thing you got to do, take advantage of this. Can a relator do it? Are they incapable of meeting people? No, they can totally go and meet everybody. They can meet all 50 people. They might even be able to do it faster than a woo. But how are they going to feel at the end of that night? Exhausted, right? And so there's an example of how I'm saying this is not about what you can or cannot do. You can do any of these, but it's about what you will or won't do naturally, what will give you energy. So just keep that in mind as we talk about this, and I think you should probably consider getting your full 34 if you haven't. All right, so that's pretty good level setting. If there are any questions about the assessment itself, feel free to stop me. Feel free to ask me questions about it, and I can dig into it deeper. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing here so I can show you some things. All right. Was that okay? Was it all right if we level set it like that and just helped everybody do that? All right. Okay. Wasn't too much time. But so I want to show you, if you don't have these, I'm going to teach you how to use it so you'll be even more excited to get it. But these are called the Theme Insight cards. And if you don't have these, you can get these at Gallup.com, and you just click on the shop link at the top and you just search for Theme Insight cards. This is probably Gallup's best coaching tool they've ever created. I know the guy who did it. Yeah, there you go. Lourdes is holding hers up. Good job. There you go. So this is something where it goes through each theme and it gives you information about that theme that you don't have in the report. And it kind of gives you a quick summary. So I'll show you one of the cards just so you can see it. So you can see this is Achiever, and it goes through and it just gives you some quick, simple statements. So when I am coaching someone brand new, which I did last night on my doTERRA team, I got on there and I just walked through and I literally read to her the card. Now, she didn't know I was reading the card. I didn't feel guilty not telling her either. And I just walked through and I said, you know, you have Achiever and you are a hard worker. You set the pace for production. Your contribution is this intensity and stamina of effort. And they're like, you're reading my soul. And I'm like, actually, I'm reading the card. Right? And their need is the freedom to work at their own pace. They love completing tasks. They hate a lack of diligence. A metaphor is you love completing a race or getting to the finish line. A barrier label, how people might negatively view you because they don't understand you, is sometimes you think work is more important than people. And actually that can happen. That's a dark side of a talent, right? These are all neutral. They're not good or bad. How you use them is good or bad. And to help you kind of understand a little bit better, a theme contrast is that achievers say, I want to get it done, while an activator says, I want to get it started. An achiever says, I'm all about intense diligence, while an intellection says, I'm all about intense thinking. So I just went through that card. See how powerful that was? Just walking through that one card, and you're able to tell someone about themselves, and they're like taking lots of notes, and they think this is amazing, because it is. And so I want to teach you all the different ways that you can use this deck of cards so that you can be more capable to focus on your people's strengths. Because I think it's great to have me around, but guess what? There's only one of me. And I'm moving to London, and I'm in Diamond Club, and I work for Gallup, and I'm trying to close $10 million contracts with Fortune 500 companies, and I can't come coach your team. So I want to make sure that you have the capability to be able to do this yourself and build that. Now, I'm going to be working with doTERRA Corporate to put in together a lot of other things that we can do together and partner with them on ways that you can focus on your strengths. So it's not just an assessment. But I want you to also have some capabilities and abilities outside of that today. So when we look at this, there are different components on this card. There is, first of all, probably what I think is the most important component, and it's the need of every talent theme. And so the need, if this gets violated, you go into a fight-flight mode, where you find yourself becoming defensive, you find yourself wanting to go against whatever someone's trying to get you to do. You might even find yourself wanting to run away and be done and quit and go away and cry. You know, it's emotional when you're in a fight-flight mode. It's a survival technique that your body's going through, right? And you don't know why, because you don't understand your talents maybe, but your needs been violated. So for example, the need of an activator is less discussion and more action. So imagine if you have activator, you might relate to this. And you might realize, oh my goodness, this meeting is taking forever. I just want to get out of this meeting. See how all of a sudden you have that flight mentality? You just want to get away? Or your activator is like, I'm gonna end this meeting. See how the fight comes in? And you're like, this meeting's done. This thing's going nowhere. It's just time to get going, guys. And all of a sudden it kicks in because your need is being violated. Now, that's important for you to know. That's important for everyone around you to know. So what I like to do is I like to make a list of my top 10 needs. I look at my top 10 strengths and I've written out all my needs right under each other so that I can see what they are and I can see the patterns in all my needs. And when I feel frustrated or overwhelmed or like I want to run away or fight against something, I realize I'm in a fight-flight mood. What theme has been violated? And I love being able to go that language and look at which theme has been violated. So I love to just know that about myself and figure out what's going on. Now, a great thing to do with your spouse or with your upline is to give them that list of 10 needs and say, could you memorize this? Please learn my needs, or just have this in front of you whenever you're talking to me. That would be great. I'd like you to know who I am and what I need because this is going to be important to me. So let me give you some examples, some other needs. I'm going to take my time with the needs, and I'm going to tell you what to do when your need gets violated in a little bit here. There's another clue on the card that can help you with that, okay? But so another need, let's see, what's another one that I think I want to look at? Let's see. I want to look at empathy because I believe that is in Natalie's top 5. So empathy. So the need for empathy is the freedom to laugh, cry, and vent. It's pretty simple, right? Empathy needs that, right? That was like, yes. And you right, Natalie?
Laugh and cry. Don't stop me from that or I'm out of here, right? I'm done.
Right? Exactly. So if you imagine this. Imagine if you're with someone and they say, stop being such a baby. You know, you need to suck it up, buttercup, and we need to get going. That doesn't make you be like, oh, you're right. I totally do need to suck it up. Right? No empathy is going to think that.
No. I just cry more because they're telling me to stop, right? It's
right?
not going to work.
Nope. Andy's like, where was this card when we first got married? Dang it.
Exactly.
So this kind of concept here is not that they need to see. If you don't have empathy, you might not understand it. You might think, well, that's a weird need. You need to laugh, cry, and vent. How's that even a talent? It's basically empathy experiences the full emotions of what we're doing. I have empathy in my bottom 5. And one of the things that I've learned is that I don't even know how I feel. Really, I know it's funny, but it's true. It'll be like a week after something's happened, and my wife will be like, why are you so angry? And I'll be like, that's what it is. I'm angry. I didn't even know. You know, or sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right, but I don't know why. It's because I can't even understand it takes me time to figure it out. And when someone has empathy around you, they can help you figure it out. They can understand. Sometimes people cry and they're like, I don't know why I'm crying. But an empathy can help you through that. So being able to understand what we're feeling is a powerful talent. Because once you can name something, you have power over it. That's what I'm talking about with these strengths. The power of being able to know what your strengths are is you've named them. You've given them a name. And now they've been running your life, and now you have power to take control of your talents and be intentional with them. So another need is, let's look at includer. The includers need room for everyone. They want to make sure there's room for everyone. They want to make sure there's enough seats for everyone. They want to make sure that everyone's being involved. If they see someone being left out, they feel this thing that's just overwhelming to them, and all they can think about is going and including that person. They can't think about what you're telling them. They're not paying attention to the meeting anymore. All they can think about is that person's not being included. And so once you can fulfill that need, this energy is unleashed. That's the thing about the needs. When you honor them, energy is unleashed. When Natalie cries, all of a sudden she starts speaking with wisdom. Have you ever heard her do that? Like, some of the wisest things she said is when tears are on her cheeks, or when she's laughing with you, right? And when someone has included her, some of the most wise things they've said is when everyone's included and now they feel whole and energized. My woo is at its best when I can see all of you. I am terrible at Facebook Lives because all I can see is my own stinking face. And I'm a perfectionist, and I'm like, ah, crap, look at my hair today. But if I can stare at all of you, my woo starts going like, ooh, I'm winning people over. I saw that person laugh. You know, and I'm like, yes, I got Carrie McCoy's on my team now. You know, I can see her laughing at this. And I got Brian now. He's laughing. So all of a sudden, I'm better. And my woo's need is, what is the need of woo? I better be reminded of that. The need for social variability. Ooh, I do need that. I need to meet a lot of new people all the time. And I need to know, like, if I'm, there's just something about me that needs to bounce around and meet a lot of new people. And I just love it. And it fulfills my needs in great ways. The other thing, so with these needs, for you to be aware, it's not about pampering anybody or babying them. It's about empowerment. That's what it is. When you can fulfill someone's needs, you're empowering them to be at their best. You're honoring it. And there's some of your themes that you might recognize that if you violate the need of that one theme, it's all right, fine, you can move on. But there are some of your themes that will shut down everything else. For me, I realized that's belief. I have the talent theme of belief in my top 5. So belief is this talent of having certain core values that are unchanging. And out of these values emerge a defined purpose for my life. So I'm passionate, I'm uncompromising about my core values. I make sacrifices for things that are important. I bring values, stability, clarity, and conviction. A lot of my passion comes from it. I'm altruistic. I'm not allowed to watch infomercials because of that. Because I'm like, Melinda, do you know how many songs are on that CD set? It's amazing. Or this thing can chop cement. Or we could have so much more room in our closets if we could vacuum pack this. Turn it off, Jeremie. I'm altruistic, and I'm like, but it could work. I love it. But if someone violates my need, which is a cause or purpose for which to live, if I'm doing something that's going against my cause, against my mission, I literally shut down, and my ideation has no more ideas, and my woo doesn't care if you like me anymore, and my learner doesn't want to learn anything anymore. And I've learned about myself, there are some needs that if they get violated, nothing works anymore. I'm completely shut down now. Or if I violate it myself, if I lie to somebody, or if I realize I wasn't completely honest and I was like, oh crap, I'll go back and then I'll do like unproductive behavior, like explain way too much and apologize way too much. And it's just not good to violate my belief need, I've learned. And so I think that's important for you to understand yourselves. But imagine if you're sitting down with somebody brand new on your team and you have them write out these needs. And they all of a sudden learn more about themselves, about how they need to be honored. And they start sharing this with a lot of people. Then it's more than just having achiever or activator or deliberative or learner. It's about understanding what I need in life, what I need from partnerships. So that's the need. The need of the talent theme, I think, is probably the most important thing on this card. But what do you do if you have your need violated? Well, the problem is, if you wait around for someone to fix it for you, you're just playing the victim, right? Let's say someone violated my belief need. And then I'm like, oh, you shut me down. Now I can't do anything. Now my doTERRA business is gonna be bad, and it's not gonna go well, and I'm not gonna teach this class good because I'm letting other people control my life now. That doesn't make sense, right? I think it's important to see how other people influence you and how you influence your own life. But you've got to be able to also take control of the situation when your need has been violated. And so one of the things that I always like to have people do is on one side of the column, they've got their 10 needs. On the other side, they've got the correlating sentence about your contribution. And so, for example, and this is on here as well, it says, I bring, and in parentheses, it's got contribution. For achiever, I bring intensity and stamina of effort. So if my need, my freedom to work at my own pace is violated, if someone just tells me, hey, just get this done, like by today, and that's not my pace, I can be very frustrated. I can be very resentful. But the way I get out of that is I get to work. And all of a sudden, if I can make a contribution with that theme, I'm better. When I'm frustrated with a relationship, if I can serve that person and I can work hard for them, I feel better about the relationship. My achiever, if I can make a contribution with my talent, all of a sudden, that need being violated, I can overcome. So let's just say, like doing the dishes makes me love my wife more. It doesn't necessarily make her love me more. I've learned that it makes me love her more. And unfortunately, she's just over there and heard that. That was supposed to be a secret. Dang it. And we recorded this too. So, but this is something where you need to learn how you can make a contribution with your theme to climb out of your funk. And serving others with your theme is the way to do it. So some other contributions. So let's see. The need of discipline is to have a structured and organized environment. Well, that might not always happen for you, especially when you hit summer and all the schedules change for your kids. And so what you bring is precision and detail orientation. And so maybe you can map out your summer in a detailed format and make sure that you guys get on a schedule. And all of a sudden, that'll bring your discipline back to life and make summer fun for everybody. Let's see. Another one is focus. The need for focus is to have a goal to establish priorities. How can you focus if you don't have anything to focus on, right? Well, if that gets violated, what you bring is clarity through concentration and direction. So bring direction, bring clarity. Stop the whole process and say, hey, can we figure out where we're going? Can I provide some direction here? And all of a sudden your focus will come back to life. You see that? So I like to have on my piece of paper my 10 needs listed in order according to my top 10 talent themes. And then next to that, my top 10 contributions so that I know what to do if my need gets violated and I don't have to play the victim and I can take control of my talent and I can be the one in charge and I can serve the world with who I am. You know, a lot of people raise their kids to say, hey, I want you to find your passion. I want you to find what you love to do. I think a better thing might be to say, I want you to find your unique contribution. And I want you to find a way to make that for the rest of your life. I just do that every day. And you'll find passion naturally if you do that. I think it's different. I think it's almost like trying to tell someone to go be happy, or you could tell them what they need to do to be happy. You don't just go to be happy. You do the right things that create happiness. It's the same thing here. You don't just go find passion. You do things that create passion. And if you make your unique contribution to the world, you'll create a passion that not only does something, because we can be passionate about singing in the shower, right? Or passionate about video games. That doesn't mean we should be the next video game blogger, right? So I think we need to see what's the contribution we can make. And then those other things will come into place. That's just 2 things of like 10 things on this card that you can use to coach your team. How powerful is that, right? That's awesome, right? So any questions so far before I keep going?
That's so powerful, Jeremie. So awesome.
There was a question brought up that I thought was very interesting, that is there any type of, if you have like what they call artificial, or maybe that was you were raised with that can come through that maybe is not part of really who you are, but it's because of who you've been raised to be? Is that something that is, it's just like from Kylene, it's written in here, can a life wound cause an artificial strength?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Thanks for asking that. What you're basically asking is this nature or nurture, right? Was I born with it, or did it get shaped in me? Was there some event or something some parenting style my parents had that created this thing, right? Did I rephrase?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's probably one of the most common questions I get when I'm doing training. So thank you for asking that, Cheryl. That's great. It shows that you're a smart person and you're thinking about this. So I appreciate you being thoughtful there.
I can't, I'm sorry, but I can't accept that. That was my daughter.
Nope, just say thank you. Smart. You can do it. All right. So, all right. I want to talk about what you just did there a little bit too, but I want to talk about and answer your question. So as I talked about, and I talked about it on purpose, what we think we're measuring are physical pathways in your brain that have been created through that pruning process. We think that you've gotten to a point now where your brain physically has some neural pathways that are at the synaptic connections at your dendrites in your brain, and they're just flowing all over the place. And we think we're actually measuring those specific things. And therefore, those don't change. Brain psychologists show that after a while, what you end up doing more often than creating new superhighways is creating branches on the trees, on the trunks that have already been grown. And so you do grow and develop. It's not that you don't stop changing or anything like that. They have found that if there is a physical trauma to the brain, then you may see a complete change in personality. So if you had a brain injury or you were in something like that, we can see I was just watching Stranger Things 2. And I noticed that it had they're talking about Phineas Cage, which I remember learning about in school. He had that bar that went through his head. It was just like this. And they said after that, he was just like mean, and he wasn't the same person anymore because it had gone through his frontal lobe and he had survived. So yes, can it change? The other part of it that I said, and I said this on purpose, is that God didn't create this, Gallup did. It's not divine revelation, but I think it's still, for a lot of people, I think they think of it as revelation. But at the same time, I want you to realize that it's not perfect, and there are times where you can take it and you'll see some things change. Normally what's happening, though, is your top 10 are just shuffling around. That's all that's happening. And if it gives you any confidence, at Gallup on our front doors to our offices, we have our top 10 listed, not our top 5. If it shows you how Gallup feels about the top 5 versus the rest, we think your top 10 are fairly dominant, and we think it's a more holistic version of who you are. So if that helps at all. And I had a guy one time, I was teaching a class at a call center in, I think it was Arkansas. It was my first time to the South, and this guy said that he had harmony because he was raised in the South. And I was like, that's an interesting theory. And I said, well, we're in the South, so let's test your theory. I said, raise your hand if you have harmony in your top 5. And there was 30 other people there, and he was the only one with harmony in his top 5. And I said, theory debunked, my friend. This is in you. This is something that's natural to you. Now, think about it this way. At the age of 3, those synaptic connections are being made and being kept. And they're kept if they're touched, if they're stimulated. They're not kept if they're not stimulated. Therefore, can you develop certain talents in certain environments that were already naturally an inclination for you, that were ready to develop, and because you were nurtured, they developed into something? Or can you be in a situation where you weren't even touched as a child, and we have research that shows that when you don't touch a child, they don't fully develop, and they have problems for the rest of their life. So your nurture does make a difference, and research shows it makes a difference in your personality and everything else. But it's usually still based on this range of natural proclivity that you already had to develop. you won't develop something you could have never had, right? So all those other people didn't have harmony because it just wasn't there for them. But did being raised in the South and certain culture and with certain parents help those themes develop in certain ways? Yeah. But so I think it's a combination of both. And I think you can have some life-changing thing happen that can shape and change who you are. And just go take the assessment again and see if it's true. So hopefully that helps answer your question. The other thing I want to speak to is you kind of had a hard time accepting that compliment. And I just want to say that that's because we live in a weakness-based society. And in some ways, we also don't want to be seen as egotistical. And so we actually inadvertently become self-centered. You see how when you did that, you made that about yourself? And you're like, oh no, I can't accept that. And really, you could have made it about me and been like, oh, thank you so much, and made me feel good for giving you a compliment. But you made it about yourself instead, right? And so it's actually being self-centered to not be grateful for what you've been given, for the gifts that you have. And so we should be counting our blessings. And one way to count our blessings and to make those blessings count is to actually use our talents, to invest in them, to be grateful for them, to accept them, to claim them, to aim them at things that we need to be doing, and to help people know who we are. And it's not egotistical. You're not denying the good luck you got, the blessings you received, the other people who helped you, but you're honoring the role that you played, that you were only able to play because of the blessings that you've been given, the talents you've been given. So be grateful when someone says you're smart. God gave you those smarts. Don't deny what he gave you. Don't deny the gifts you've been given. Don't not count your blessings in that moment. Be grateful for them and be like, thank you. You don't have to be like, yes, want to know something else about me? I'm also really good at ping pong. It's awesome, like ping pong master, 2 paddles in the same hand. Right? You don't have to be like that, but you can be like, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you thought to say that. And you can compliment them back, right? Like it's just, those are things. So I'm saying that to you because we all do it. And I want us all to realize that telling people your talents is not egotistical. It's being grateful and making your blessings count by counting your blessings. All right.
Thank you.
Off soapbox, sitting down.
That was good. Oh, very enlightening. Very enlightening.
You're welcome. All right. So, So we've covered just a little bit of these cards. Is this still okay for you guys? Is this all right, this training so far? Okay. So I just want to say hi to Jason because I see him and I know Jason. How's it going, buddy? Good to see you.
Good, how are you?
All right. And hey, Christine Hales, good to see you too. Just saying hi to people. All right. So the other thing that's on